Okay, this is the second time I'm recording this one particular video. Okay? And this time I'm going to try and keep nice and calm. Breathe in and breathe out. There. I'm an island of calm and peace and tranquility. Now, I mean, let's be honest, there are plenty of people who are within, occultism or spiritualism or whatever you want to call it this week, who are in fact completely insane. Or mentally challenged. I think we could definitely say mentally challenged. I would say missing a few sandwiches short of a picnic, that sort of thing. And this particular individual, whose name is Barb Haven, is one of those. Now, I did a Ouija board seance a while ago. Obviously, I personally accept the idiomotor hypothesis. I think that the experiences that you get, they raise questions, they don't provide answers. Okay? And there's an awful lot of things which are just plain unknown. So, that's where I come from. It doesn't matter what ceremony you could do. I mean, you could do a Ouija board seance trying to contact Spock from Star Trek if you were that way inclined. Because the only thing it's about is an idea, a concept that you built up in your mind, and you go into a meditative state and you try and use the ideomotor effect to try and see if you can get some kind of response from that particular concept, basically. And this particular person has commented on this one particular video, which has the wonderful title, which is a Ouija board demonology, summoning a demon from hell, which is a great title for a video of this type. And I did it in sepia just to give it more impact, okay? Because this is basically, it's infotainment, a bit of information, bit of entertainment, bit of both. But essentially, I did it straight up, and that was the result. But this comment starts off by saying, "Are you kidding me?" followed by 3 separate exclamation marks. Now, that demonstrates, obviously, disagreement with my point of view, which is, of course, fine, because everyone is perfectly free to have their own point of view, despite the fact it might be wrong. Or, indeed, intellectually challenged. The comment then goes on to say, "This is not how goetic demons are communicated with." And the word "not" is capitalized. So it's not, well, this is not how goetic demons are communicated with. It's, this is not how goetic demons are communicated with. Actually, not with it at the end there. I just put that in for effect. But what the hell? The question here is, who is to say precisely how something that we don't even know whether it exists or not, and all we've got is a few straight experiences to go by, and the rantings of the occasional, heroin-addicted occultist to go by. I mean, is that a sufficient standard of truth and knowledge for anybody to go by and say, yes, we have a fixed method and a fixed way of dealing with things, and yes, everything has to be fixed and rigid and in a very sort of like charismatic, evangelical, fundamentalist, dogmatic way? But no, that's obviously what this individual, Barb Haven, seems to think. It demonstrates lack of thought. It demonstrates an inability to reason. It demonstrates being mentally challenged. It demonstrates a certain lack of the ability to have a question of self-doubt and self-criticism. A certain level of assuredness, which is obviously only reserved for people who are slightly, eccentric. That's putting it mildly. Right? Putting it very mildly. 2 sandwiches short of a picnic, slightly better. Okay. But this shows you the thinking of some qualities of people, okay? Because the comment then goes on and says, "This is dangerous, foolish, and an outrage to any real practicing magician." Well, obviously there should have been a comma between dangerous and foolish, but that's not really neither here nor there. It's the message of the argument which is important. Obviously the word real in this particular case is, again, capitalized. And so, essentially, that's using the no true Scotsman logical fallacy, as if to say there is one particular real type of magician and they are the person that I personally approve of. That's what Barb Haven is trying to communicate here. It's only the kind of person who I approve of in accordance with the dogma that I personally think is right, and therefore everybody else on the face of the planet is in fact completely and utterly inferior to me, because I'm the one who possesses all of the knowledge and all the power, for I am the great and powerful Barb Haven. Grow up. Please. I mean, when you're actually bright enough and old enough and mature enough to realise, and this can be for a person of any age, okay, but when you're actually mature enough to be able to realise that sometimes even you can be wrong, then that's actually a good thing. Now, if you're reading all of these classical books of occultism and you're worshipping them in like a bibliolatrous way, okay, bibliolatry as opposed to ideolatry. You know, it's like people who worship the Bible rather than worshipping God or worshipping Jesus. You know, you're worshipping either the Lesser Key of Solomon or the writings of Aleister Crowley during one of his less lucid moments. And assuming that that is a hard and fast fact, or you're trying to impose a specific dogma which is possibly based upon something false on other people. Barb Haven. Sorry, Barb, but you know, when you approach me like that, I can develop an instant dislike to you if I want. I don't need to know too much, because you've shown me everything about you, Barb. You've shown me how you think, if you think at all. It seems more like there's like little bits of programming or, you know, spurious bits of digital code flowing through your head that you must follow without questioning, you must follow without questioning, exterminate, exterminate. I mean, this is sad. But then the comment goes on. I mean, I can... It's 7 minutes and 10 seconds already. Jesus, I mean, crikey. It then goes on and says, not to mention anyone who tries this is in jeopardy. Jeopardy. Alright, jeopardy. Now, on what can you base this? Do you base it on the fact that you knew someone who did it wrong by your standards, who then chose to not to use a seatbelt when driving and then drove into a wall and then died in a car crash? Could that be due to the fact they didn't put on a safety belt, they were driving carelessly, they weren't thinking properly, rather than necessarily a spirit? I mean, what was it that can possibly make you think that there is jeopardy here? Unless, of course, you're actually thick. You know, maybe I shouldn't be taking the mick out of you. You know, maybe I should be saying, oh, I'm terribly sorry. You know, do look after yourself. Go back to your doctor. You know, take your medicines. Maybe I should be being compassionate to someone like you and saying that, you know, if you just put on that nice straitjacket and take your, you know, dopamine substitutes or whatever it is, then, you know, you might one day be rehabilitated back into society. You know, you're disturbed. You are a disturbed person, and you think you've got the right to tell everybody else all this extreme, terrifying, almost in the same manner of a fundamentalist, Republican, evangelical lunatic who thinks that gays should be shot. I mean, that's the quality of reasoning that you've got. You really are scum, Barb Haven, and you're sick. And then, you know, this one message just shows so much about how this person thinks, okay? Because the message goes on even further, and it says, do you know the difference between invoking and evoking? Again, with 3 question marks. I mean, come on, darling, grammar, okay? You missed out on a comma, okay? Alright? And you've used 3 question marks in a row on 2 separate occasions in one comment section when you could have used those characters for something more, specific and descriptive, okay? Something more in depth, as far as your communication with me is concerned. But Barb Haven, you chose not to. Just 1 question mark is all you need to explain that one particular sentence, which has to make sense, that's why it's called a sentence, okay, is a question. Now, sometimes I use too much punctuation myself, but I tend to do it in a humorous manner, okay, as part of a form of comedy or entertainment, or indeed having a joke with somebody in the comment section, not being a very deadly serious, charismatic fundamentalist evangelical lunatic who's trying to sell this very strange combination of ideas. Barb Haven. I don't like you. I just don't like you, I'm sorry. And I don't have to like someone of your caliber. You're my enemy. If you think like this, and you think it's right to talk to people, some of whom could be, they could be suffering. They could be in pain somehow. They could be emotionally distraught. They might have just lost someone. Alright? And you're trying to force this type of message into them, Barb Haven. Alright? You are a brainwasher. You're trying to be a cult leader. You are seriously disgusting. And I mean seriously disgusting. Alright? This is very, very, very bad behaviour. I'm trying my hardest not to swear on this video. It really is very hard for me. And then after all that, at the end of your little comments on that video, you then say, you are an idiot. Which demonstrates that you can't converse properly. Alright? You're reverting to schoolyard thinking for someone who is, according to your way of thinking, doing something which is very similar to what you do, or that you understand. But you're trying to say that you are the great and powerful Barb Haven. Yes, yes. Only you know the way forward. No. And you want to call me an idiot. You want to call me a fucking idiot, Barb Haven.